Like, we've been hearing a lot about how Google is taking clicks away with AI overviews, or I should say AI overviews get blamed a lot for the click reduction, the click-through rate reduction that we've been seeing a lot on Google in general. So what do you have to say about that? Like, do you think that that's telling the entire story, or is there something else that's really leading to some of those click reductions that we're seeing?
Well, that real estate is really important, right? So that's the real estate that Google's always keeping an eye on and always wants to monetize it, right? Which is why we see ads up there so much and whatnot. And traditionally, with Google ads, we would see, 3% of the traffic would go to the ads, and then a bunch of 97% of it would bypass the ads, and then they would click around, and we'd have statistics about, oh, if you're number one, you're gonna get X percentage, and that's still the case. But those AI overviews pop up sometimes, which can affect that click-through rate. However, one thing that I think a lot of people aren't talking about is something relatively new that Google's been doing to basically lease that real estate, and that's LSA ads, or Google LSAs they call local service ads, and it's something that's really only been possible in audiology for the last few months, um, because frankly Google messed up the process for for even applying to be able to do Google LSAs. So it was a lot of work to help them with their own process. But uh, hearing dispensers cannot do it. So it's at this point they want audiologists only. But what an LSA ad is, it's an even kind of better form of ad in a lot of ways, because instead of pay per click, it's pay per lead, but they put you right at the top, and you have to apply and qualify for this. And if you get through that application process, they give you all sorts of trust signals that you don't get from, a normal Google ad. And those LSA ads that are just wherever they actually exist, because a lot of people aren't doing them yet, but those LSA ads wherever they exist, uh, it's just eating up the click-through rate, because people see all these trust signals right at the top. Um, but I think the lesson here is that you should be doing Google LSAs if you can right now, because many people aren't. Many people don't even know how to implement them, even if they wanted to. And if your competitors aren't doing it, that's a missed opportunity for you to just buy that number one spot with trust signals and get leads. And it's been fantastic for people. So yeah, LSAs are eating into it more than people think.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to talk about AI overviews, and yeah, they matter. Like, nobody's trying to say that AI overviews don't matter at all. But yeah, it's certainly missing the click siphon when you start to take a look at those LSAs and how they are being used more and more. Because when somebody does have that real intent, meaning they actually want to call, right? They actually want to book an appointment for it. It's right there at the top. Real estate, just like you said, that's the premier real estate. That's the best spot to be, and it's backed by Google, right? Saying these are verified, right? So it's instant credibility, instant trust, a lot of the things you're trying to build with marketing in general. So you have that perfect storm of high intent searches, trustworthy placement of ads, but even for the practice, right? What I like about it is that you also get the benefit of not paying for clicks like you do in traditional Google ads. With traditional Google ads, it is per click. So whether somebody actually fills out a form or actually calls you, doesn't matter. You're paying if they click and take that actionable step. Whereas with the Google LSAs, it's only for qualified leads. Now, there's a disclaimer with what's qualified and what's not for it. However, being able to actually say that this ROI is based on real leads, that's where it gets to be beneficial for the practices as well. So it's not just I want to get my clicks back. It's yes, I want my clicks back, but I also want to make sure that I'm getting more leads from those clicks. And that's where LSAs really show their worth.
I agree, and I think all of this leads to a bigger conversation too that a lot of people aren't having, and that's that you really need a multi-channel approach, and that's kind of when I'm talking to people about search everywhere optimization, and then advertising and social, and all the other channels that you can do on the digital platforms. Um, it's important to take a multi-channel approach, and that's partially because any given one of these pieces of the pie, if I do SEO for you and we increase your organic traffic, that's fantastic. But they're all working together, right? That real estate is being parsed out into a bunch of different channels, regardless of where you are out there, and it's important to be seen as much as you can and to make them work together, right? So if you have a Google LSA ad up there and you rank number one, that is going to be greater than the sum of the two parts, because that's going to lower your cost per lead, for the LSA ads, and frankly, you're number one. So some people will just click on the organic listing instead of coming in through Google LSAs. But it's important to look at real estate beyond just I'm doing SEO, or I'm doing ads. We need to look at all the opportunities, and LSAs kind of highlight that. So if you're not doing LSAs and you're an audiologist, consider it, because if your competitors aren't, and they probably aren't, it is a missed opportunity to just grab market share right now.
Yeah, missed opportunity if you're not doing it and you're able to do it, because it is difficult to set up. It's not you just filling out a form and all of a sudden you have an LSA created, right? It's a fairly involved process. And I know you spent a lot of time even working directly with Google on getting that process to a point where an audiologist could take advantage of it.
Yeah, well, it's funny, they released the LSA, and then to apply to be an LSA, for the LSA, you have to select your category, and they released audiologists, and then they didn't put the audiology category in the application form. So you go to the page and it wasn't there, so you couldn't actually do it. So then we had to work with them, but yeah, LSAs can be fantastic, and it's one of those opportunities where you can kind of jump on it and reap the rewards from it for a while until it becomes kind of a relatively standard practice, or they open it up to more people. And that's kind of why I encourage people to give it a shot. And like any marketing, it's not going to be the end all be all or necessarily make you $1 million, but it is another good channel that we've been seeing success with.
And do you see it as this is LSA or traditional PPC, or is it LSA and traditional PPC through Google Ads?
It can be both, right? They can work together. It kind of depends on what the available inventory is, frankly. And Google LSAs are a little bit harder to, Google likes to put us in a situation where we always have to use their tools to forecast and stuff like that. But unfortunately, the forecasting tools have never been that great. And it's not because Google gave us crummy tools. It's just, it's hard to predict the future, even with all the data, right? So, they give us these tools to try and forecast how many leads you're going to get from Google LSAs. But what I've been finding is it's kind of inconsistent. It's kind of hard to tell exactly how many you're going to get. But we have been seeing that the cost per lead is very reasonable. I would say, everybody's different, but probably 100 to 150 is probably typically what I've been seeing. So, which is pretty good. And not all of them are going to actually be qualified. And we talked about that, Howard, but it's a pretty good number.